Wait, is that the first time you've watched your car go down?
Yes, actually.
Is that weird?
Kind of a prideful thing, you know? It looked great.
It's the equivalent of letting someone valet your car and you get to watch it leave, except at 8 seconds.
What's up guys, Chen here. Welcome to another episode of Hoonigan Autofocus. Today we are at Santa Margarita Ranch and we're doing a lot of episodes of This versus That. In front of me is a very interesting car. We just had a very interesting race actually. And so the story is you actually have to go watch the race first, right? Travis Pastrana raced this crazy pink chrome R35 GTR drag vehicle, and Brooke here actually won. How was the actual race?
It was good. I am used to drag racing on a prepped drag strip. So this was a challenge for me a little bit. Didn't know really what I wanted to do as far as, you know, tire pressure and launch control settings and stuff like that. So we made one test hit and my tuner kind of got a gist of like what was going on, updated a file, and we killed it. We did really well.
Yeah, that's an understatement. So first of all, the day started out like normal, you know, we did the interviews, stuff like that. Then you just where we're doing the interviews, I guess you just did like a quick two-step. You just did a quick little warm-up. Everybody just like perked up. They're like, oh my God, what's going on? The world is ending. It's a bunch of gunshots. It sounded like a machine gun, honestly.
Oh my gosh.
It was so cool. You kicked up a bunch of dust and we're like, all right, it's about to get serious. But for your test hit, it was something else, because normally when we see people bring four-wheel drive vehicles, it's not too much drama when they're going down the strip, especially, I mean, even if they have a lot of horsepower, right? But when you have the rear-wheel drive vehicles, oh my God, they're dancing all over the place.
Yeah.
But I feel like it was the same thing with this. When you were doing your test hit, first time ever on unprepped surface with this vehicle, right? Or is it first time ever on an unprepped surface?
Both. So first time ever on an unprepped surface and first time in this car. So what I'm used to is when I'm drag racing, if I feel like something is off, I immediately let out, because I rather, you know, not break something and lose a race. Or in this case, it was testing, so I could. Like I said, I sent that to my tuner. I felt like it was spinning and I didn't want to break something, but it actually wasn't. It's just how it feels on, you know, radials. We're usually on slicks and on this unprepped surface. So when he made the revisions, like we dialed it back just a little bit, launch a little bit smoother, and it felt great. I mean, it felt like I was like right back on the prep track.
So you actually went down in power a little bit then?
Yeah, yep.
The thing is, a lot of people don't understand with drag racing, they think it's just going straight. Just looking at your test hit, I just could not believe how much you were moving back and forth. It was just like, okay, you go and then the whole car dips and then you let off and then this and that. And then when you're back on the power, it's just like dancing. You're just doing your best to keep it straight.
Yeah.
You know, when I have a chance to shoot some of the Top Fuel guys, or even if it's just like the drag week cars, they're still really fast. All the time, they're just finding that groove. They're correcting themselves. It's very rare where they can go dead straight. I mean, because of the track conditions or whatever, oil down, or there's just so many things. But when you say prepped surface, for those who don't know how sticky it can get, it's insane. It's unlike anything you've ever walked on or driven on, right?
I like kind of compare it to if you ever had those like sticky fly trap things that you pull apart and you hang up and all the flies stick to them. If you lay that down and we were the size of flies and you're walking on it, like it's almost, it's hard to keep your shoes on if they're not tied tight enough. So like that prepped of a surface is, you know, what we built the car around, and that's the tire that we had on it, you know, for that surface. So coming out here, a little different, not sticky at all, you know, at all.
Yes. And I have a really embarrassing story about walking on prep surfaces. You know, we work with Leah Pruitt a lot, right? And she was actually, she was driving the Dodge Demon when they were releasing it, and they were trying to break the streetcar record, right? So they hired her to do the hits, you know, to essentially set the streetcar record for a production vehicle, right? And of course, this was in Gainesville in Florida, and they prepped the surface so sticky that me, stupidly, as I stepped onto the surface, the second step I took, my shoes came off, and then the third step I took, my socks came off.
Yep.
So I was there barefoot, and I bet if I took one more step, it would have been really, really bad. But anyways, everybody was laughing at me, and it was okay. You know,
It happens. It happens to everyone.
I learned my lesson. Now I tie my shoes so tight you just can't take them off. Yeah. But speaking of Leah, it's just so inspiring to see you essentially compete in this male-dominated sport, and we love working with inspirational, powerful women in motorsport, you know, like Leah. And just why did you get into this in the first place?
So just to start, I want to say that I don't really view it as, you know, this big male-dominated sport. I know a ton of female racers, and they're all awesome. Like cars faster than mine, cars slower than mine, people who are just getting started, people who have been doing this for years. But all these girls, all these women, they're there, you know? So I think that's a common misconception. But, you know, being able to still take that and be an example for little girls, you know, they come to the track, they see a big, bright pink car, it's going to be the first thing they gravitate to. So I am happy to be able to be that, you know, example, that good example, that inspiration for them to want to, you know, get into racing and continue our sport. So that is something that I hold near and dear to my heart. I'm glad to be able to do that.
So, yeah, I absolutely love that. And you know, that's the thing is, you got to build it your own style. You have to have your own style. And with you putting your own style and also your personality into this build, into the livery, it is inspirational. And I know I have a 6-year-old daughter. I know she would just melt if she saw this thing. She would just be all over it. You know, she would want to sit inside of it and push all the buttons or whatever. But that, I love that so much. And I love that you're inspiring the next generation of racers. But let's actually get into the car. On the outside, it looks like a pretty stock bodied, at least, Nissan GTR.
So it's a 2009. We did install the 2017 headlights and a N-Tune Nismo bumper. Besides that in the wrap, that's pretty much all we've done as far as, you know, aesthetics, stuff like that. I mean, the pink is a pretty big statement.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's about all that's done on the outside. But on the inside, there's a whole bunch of things.
It did start life out as a street car, correct?
It did, yeah. So I bought this car in 2017, had like 20,000 miles, and it was, you know, just someone's like second or third car, and I bought it considerably cheap for what it was. So I like built it all up on my own with my friends, with, you know, the shops that have been supporting me. We drove it for like over 100,000 miles on the street over like 2 years, and then I ended up doing all this drag racing because, you know, the community is awesome and they like want you to get involved in what they're doing. So that's kind of how I fell into racing. But it's been an awesome journey, like me and her together doing all these cool things.
So did you wear it out, or did you outgrow the original equipment that came with it? Like, what happened? There was like a progression of you getting into a certain class of racing?
So like everything was going great. We were running really good times. We were winning races. At this point, we were stock turbos, stock motor, stock transmission. And it was fun. But I knew that like nothing lasts forever, right? Like someday something's gonna happen. It's gonna be the transmission, it's gonna be the motor, and it's a lot cheaper to just build it before it breaks. Because if it breaks, you don't know it's gonna break, you don't know what you're gonna have to replace. So I reached out to AMS Performance, who I really admired all of their work. They've really been like the pioneers in research and development for a lot of different platforms, you know, Evos, of course GTRs, and now Lambos and R8s. But I loved their like company culture and like everything they stood for. So after talking a bunch, we decided to go in on this project together.
that's a great story. And also on top of that, it's just cool that you had a chance to drive it on the street as a street car, but you still drive it on the street.
Yeah, so it's still registered and insured, and
I mean, it's still mild enough to do that.
it's
that's
really
the crazy
not
thing.
bad. Back when it was on the Nismo turbos, it was like almost impossible. But now that we're on the stock cover turbos, it's not that bad. It's actually a lot of fun.
Okay, so let's check that out. If
All
we
right.
can look at the engine bay real quick.
I had to keep it cute.
It is the cutest VR engine in the world, I think.
Thank you, I appreciate that. I take pride in that.
So what are we looking at here? What is this?
This is a 4.3 liter, originally a 3.8, so considerably bigger. We are on stock cover turbos with Garrett G Series internals. So basically the OEM turbos, just the covers with the Garrett G Series inside of them. It's on a Cyvex ECU. We have Nostrum 1050 cc injectors. We have 12 of them. Let's see, what else we got here? I mean, everything really is like your typical AMS, reliable, fun build. We just added our own flair to it.
Yeah, because they have the quickest GTR in the world.
So it's been passed around now for a couple years. I think right now ETS has the fastest GTR, or I'm sorry, the fastest R35.
Okay.
Not GTR overall. But yeah, they were the first R35 GTR in the 6s. They were actually the first R35 GTR in the 9s, 8s, 7s, and 6s. So they, like I said, pioneers of the research and development on these cars. They know them inside and out. So I have full faith every time I take this car out that we're gonna kick ass.
It's kind of a fun thing to watch, actually, the record being passed back and forth, right?
It is.
I mean, but then it's like, at one point, is it not a R35 anymore?
Yeah, so actually ETS also has their like Pro Mod GTR, and I know that thing has been in the 6s too, but I think they're still like breaking them up into their own classes, but more to follow on that, I'm sure.
Yeah, that's cool. So what kind of transmission does this run then?
So this has a Sheptrans 1K, so it's essentially their package that they have for those making around 1,000 foot-pounds of torque. We added some special things here and there, a wave track diff, just stuff that we knew like could possibly break in the future. Shep's been awesome. He's the king of R35 transmissions. I know he does a lot of things with Evos as well. And they've been awesome. I've only broken 2 of them, which sounds like a lot, but in GTR drag racing, a lot of these people are going through 1 trans per event.
That's actually really surprising to me that when you mentioned this car, when you first purchased it back in 2009, that was like the first year of this car, right? And it back then, I feel like it just wasn't fully developed, and over the years, they've refined this car in general.
Definitely.
Sorry about that, we just got kicked out of our shooting location, but we will continue now. I did have a chance to go to the Tokyo Motor Show to see the launch of the R35 GTR.
Really?
Back in 2007. Yeah, it was epic, it was amazing. And
That's so cool.
it was just cool because it was like the return of the GTR, There was just a break for, what was it? The last year the R34 was 2002. So yeah, 7 years or so. Yeah. Let's talk about tires and wheels setup. So there's a reason why you're actually running smaller brakes, right?
Yeah. So in our classes, we are restricted to wheel size. So usually for the classes that I've been running, it's a 17-inch wheel in the back, with or without slicks. And actually some classes also require drag radials or a DOT tire of some sort. Thankfully, M&H Racemaster tires, they are so awesome, and they always get me whatever I need as far as drag radials and slicks go. And not only like hooking it up with tires, but like the quality of their tires is so much better than other manufacturers that I've seen.
And is there a reason why you specifically chose this tire for this race?
So against my better judgment, and excuse me for all of my friends who are watching that do no prep racing. I had no idea that I would be better on a slick than on a drag radial. I assumed, being on the street, I'd probably want something with more tread on it. So like I said, I usually run my slicks. I switched up to this drag radial just because I thought it was a good idea, but I mean, it's done fine. We did fine against Travis, so we'll have to see what goes on later on today against that drag Camaro.
Yeah. And then potentially, who knows, now that you've really blown the doors off of everybody's expectations in terms of just what an actual drag car can do out here, hopefully we see you again real soon. But with that said, how is it that this is a question. I had no idea that this could do burnouts.
Yeah.
It's all-wheel drive though.
It is. So we actually use the same type of system we use for the ECU management. So we run on Cybex. Cybex also has what's called an all-wheel drive controller, and it's actually plug and play. It goes right underneath the seat and plugs in, and we can turn off power to the front wheels. And then I also have line lock. So, I initiate the line lock before I get on launch control. So it holds the front wheels so they're not moving freely forward, do my burnout, release, and that's it. And then it reverts all the way back to race mode. It's super easy. They have it all set up and programmed up, so I really don't have to worry about anything.
Yeah, so it's actually more effective for you to do that than do an all-wheel drive burnout, because it's probably also a lot more on the transmission, like a lot more strain to do an all-wheel drive burnout.
Yeah, I can't even imagine.
Is there a way for you to switch it just to do front-wheel drive burnouts then?
I don't think so. I mean, I don't know. I don't think you would ever want to. There is, after a certain amount of time, there is the ETS unit within the transmission does get ate up a little bit, but I mean, I haven't had any issues with that. I think that's more like the high horsepower guys. They're doing like massive smoky burnouts and they're sitting there for like 30 seconds and I haven't really had any issues. I love my line lock and I love my burnouts. This actually was the first car I've ever done a burnout in ever that I bought 4 years ago. So
it's a car that's traditionally not supposed to be able to do burnouts.
Yeah. So I love my burnouts. They make me happy. They like get me pumped. Like, you listen to music before you go to a race or an event or something and you like get hype. Like my burnouts like hype me up like that.
Well, when we actually moved the starting line up 500 feet for your race against Travis, which it was just so cool to be able to see when it was actually heads up to 500 feet, this gets out of the hole like nothing else. It's just so crazy to see. I mean, Travis's car is fast and it has to be able to launch really fast, especially with rallycross, right? But that's not its only job. It has to turn, has to brake, has to do all this stuff. It has all the aero. This is just meant to go fast in a straight line, and it was just so cool to see how much grip it has. But when you moved it up, you actually did a burnout to lay down some rubber.
Yep. That
way you could leave exactly on the same tire marks that you created.
It definitely helped a lot, and it's interesting to me to hear you say that it moved out really fast, because to me, what I'm used to, like the feeling, it felt so slow. Like I'm sure I have my draggy in there. I could probably show you the 60-foot, but it definitely 60-footed like way slower than I normally go. So it's good to hear though that like it looks and it appears and it actually performs faster than it feels to me.
Yeah, I mean, compared to the other cars that we run on here, like I ran my R32 stock with stock airbox with probably I had the AC on here, that was actually the very first race to ever race here. And, it's just been a progression from there, in terms of like super slow cars to things like this. It's just so crazy. And also, on top of that, it's very rare, surprisingly, to have a car with a parachute out here.
So, I really like to be safe. Like that's like my biggest thing to me, like I don't ever want to put myself or anyone around me in danger. So NHRA, IHRA rules, 150 miles an hour in the quarter mile, you need a parachute. So I was not going to argue on that. I already had the cage in the car. Like I strictly adhere to those rules. So It also looks cool. I mean, look at it.
It
Like you
is-
come up on this anywhere and you're like, oh damn.
If you're driving this on the street, so do you have a hole cut out of your license plate? Because that's a thing that drag street guys do, right?
So I just put mine in the back window.
Oh, okay. All right.
This actually is detachable. Like I could take this piece off.
Oh, okay.
It's just something that's mounted back here. You can actually see right here where it is held in.
Okay.
But I love it. I keep it on. It's cute.
Yeah, well, hopefully there are other racers that have come with cars with parachutes. Hopefully we never have to use it.
Yeah.
I mean, because there's no like catch fence or anything back there.
Well, I was thinking, I was like, okay, I know that it's either 500 feet, 1,000 feet, or 1,500 feet. I'm used to 1,320 feet, but that's on a prep track. I was like, if I just go to 1,000 feet, I probably won't have to use the chute, and it'll be a little bit safer. So that's kind of what I was aiming for. I think if we actually did the full 1,500 feet, there's no doubt I would have had to pull the chute.
Well, yeah, because at that point, what mile an hour would you be at?
God, like above 170. Yeah, like maybe at 180.
170 on this airstrip?
Yeah. And that's with like a shutdown that's, you know, non-existent. So I was like really hoping that we stuck with like the 1,000 foot. Yeah.
That is, I don't even, that is incredible. That is so crazy. Yeah, okay. Can we talk about the interior?
Yeah, sure. So like I said, I'm really a stickler for safety and adhering to safety requirements. So we put the 850 cert cage in, and it looks so cool to me. I love the look of the safety too. But yeah, we kept the rear seats in, have to keep all of the interior pieces like back here and the door cards that are a little cut up so that we can get out. But besides that, we upgraded our steering wheel, cute pink and purple sparkle.
Yeah, how did you do that? How's that even a thing?
So these are custom made. They're made by Charismo Design out of New York City. And like he custom made this just for me. So he knew I had the pink and purple, you know, theme going on. So even the stitching, I don't know if you could see from here, but all the stitching is pink too.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then you have some other little trinkets like this
So
unicorn.
like I said, there's a lot of females like in the automotive community. Like there's no shortage of them. I actually got this from a secret Santa that we did with some of us car girls a couple years ago, and now it's just become my like good luck charm. But yeah, I'm really sentimental with some of those kinds of things.
One other thing that actually kind of really blew my mind, the pink theme is awesome. And you even went as far as to change the color of the LEDs on the dash,
I did.
right? Like,
Here.
so when you turn it on, it's, because it's normally orange.
Yeah. I just thought that was wicked cute.
That is, you just went above and beyond, like in every way.
So, I mean, it all came with like a process. So the older GTRs, you know, the older 09 to like 11 basically GTRs, these lights burn out all the time. So did these ones. So when I was taking the dash out, I was like, oh, why not? Let's just do it. It'll be cute.
Yeah, even the R in most of the GTR logos on this, or if not all of them, are pink. So including the door sills, right? And of course the steering wheel.
And then we got the ones on the back.
This thing is so cool.
Thank you.
Yeah, and the parachute release is up here, right? So.
Oh my God, what did Travis say?
Yeah,
he
Travis.
He goes.
Travis is like.
He's like, is this a T-top? Is this how you take the top off?
Well, the thing is, he's used to rally cars where you actually have to have a hatch opening.
Just in case.
In case you get stuck in a way between a tree or whatever, where you have to escape out of the top, right? So.
I just thought
it was a legitimately like he had no idea.
Oh, poor Travis. I was
kind
like,
of funny.
Really? Yeah. Oh man.
Oh no.
Yeah. It's not a champagne spread,
Thank you
but I'm
so
giving the
much.
winner, like, you know.
I
so
appreciate it.
not to.
Let's
Let's
for
do
a
the whole thing.
picture.
That's it. So, on behalf of Hoonigan. You know, so thank you for coming out.
Yeah.
It's awesome. It's not this. This is. I'm so glad to connect you.
You're just so excited.
I'm
I
so
love how
excited.
excited
I love
you.
this. I love it.
Well, you know the thing
Also-
is, for this versus that, one of the things we've always talked about is actually bringing out real drag cars.
And I know, does it get any more real than this? But this isn't even really a drag car, it's a street car. That's what's amazing about it.
Exactly.
You know?
I actually took a ride in it just now.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Oh, so jealous. So, I know she's got a license plate and everything. I think that I just love the whole story. I'm a huge fan of Martin Musial, huge fan of AMS, huge fan of R35s. Also, huge fan of advancing women in the space. And
Oh, yeah,
like,
that's what we...
the traditional, like, it's, to me, like if you follow Brooke Barini on Instagram, and I do because I'm a fan, like, you know when people on the weekends, they have like those, their Instagram storyline becomes like little dots. Hers become little dots. I'm like, how are you doing this while you're racing? But a majority of the post is her with like these like tiny little girls from like 4-year-old to like 14-year-olds, and you could see the look on their faces because they're like, you're like me, you know. And I think that's so cool. As a father of a daughter, to my 12-year-old, I think that's really super cool that Brooke is out here doing it and like showing girls like you could do this, you know. I think that's so awesome.
I appreciate that. That's honestly,
sure.
like I said before, that's like one of the things I hold like near and dear to my heart. Like, I always make time, no matter what I'm doing. Like, if I'm checking my tire pressure, if I'm, you know, uploading a new file, like as soon as the girls come over, like I think it's really important to be a good example and to take the time out, get them in the car, explain to them what you're doing, like make them want to be part of the sport, because without the future of, you know, the next generation, how are we going to have racing?
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly.
It's super important, and they're cute too. Oh my god, they're so cute. I love them.
I know. So yeah, I'm sorry to interrupt.
It's cool. I wanted to get you on
like
camera
I'm like-
because we've
I
been
know.
talking about this all day today.
I'm
It's like
I'm
how awesome
super fanboying out right
this
now because
legitimately, this may be the fastest car that's ever run on this track.
well, we're, you know, not to get out of context, but we may be like putting her up against some other vehicles, and
Yeah.
we're just like gonna go faster and faster because we're like, yeah, you keep breaking off everybody else. We're like, okay, what else do we have here and everything? So there might be something else that you'll see on the main channel too.
Yeah, well, because Brooke was saying that your estimated speed at 1500 would have been over 170.
Probably over like 180.
180.
Hold on, I also want to talk about, like, she broke off her competitor with a D2. They turned it down from the 8.1 169 mile an hour super pass setting, which is on a prepped surface. She had the smaller tires on it, not the big 15-inch wrinkle walls, and still was breaking off the tires. So she's frantically like detuning the car, which I find amazing that she actually like took it down. So it's not even the 1,200 horsepower hit. It's like, what do you think you ended up with there?
Well, I mean, the power we pulled out was out of like the launch, so you know, I don't know. I
Okay,
can't
so
give you a good
it
number.
still might be 1,200 horsepower, but it's just the RPM and the torque curve and the power band
Yes,
hit differently.
yes.
I think it's also amazing, too, such an old guy, I don't even get how this works. Like, she's remote tuning. Like, it's like going up into the sky, into space, and then it's coming back down, it goes into her car, and then her car drives differently.
Technology
Yeah.
is
I know,
wild.
isn't
Yeah.
that crazy?
Wild.
No, I love remote tunes. I'm
This is
still
so
on all
good.
remote tunes. Yeah, again, sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, no worries, no worries.
Okay,
Yeah,
I'll let you guys finish.
it's always nice when someone from main channel comes to visit.
Yeah, no, I love
autofocus.
autofocus. I love Larry is doing autofocus better than we do build biology. He's out build biology, our build biology show. So I think it's amazing. Bye, Larry.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay, so now that we're talking kind of about times and horsepower, with this setup, what's the maximum amount of power this will put out?
So if we, in theory, took out all of the ballast weight, took out any additional weight that we didn't need, turned it all the way up, put it on like methanol, I'm not going to use nitrous, that will never happen. If we did all that, I highly believe we'll be in the high sevens, and I believe we're going to be doing that next month. Wow. Yeah, which
That's
is
incredible.
cool for a stock covered turbo car, you know. Usually it takes a bigger turbo to do that.
But that's still with full interior and everything.
Yep. Yeah. So maybe take the seat out. I'll take the seat out like it is right now. If I could leave it the way it is right now, you know, it's still like 38 something 100 pounds or
Oh my
maybe
God. So, because the
37.
class you run in is 3,900 pounds.
That's correct. Yeah.
And then with everything out, how much weight would you shed? Like 100 pounds or
So
something like
we added the seat, and then we added a couple sandbags last event. I forgot to weigh it without everything in it. I estimated somewhere close to like 300.
300 pounds? That much?
So you got to think about the stock seats weigh like 80 pounds. They're wicked heavy. They're full of like, you know, electronics and stuff. To move it back.
Airbags
Yeah,
and
exactly.
stuff like that.
And then we put the sandbags in the back, and then me Yeah, I think it was close to maybe 200.
So, but then in terms of power, how much power would this put down if you went max?
Power wise, it's almost at its limits. We haven't tested on an M5 on methanol at all. So I would venture to say close to 1300, switching up fuel and like really dialing it in on like a really good day.
Would you ever, since you do drive this on the street already, would you consider taking it to like a drag week or something like that?
I have been dreaming of doing drag week since I even like started doing drag racing. I think that's the coolest thing ever. I want to do that. Like I used to, like people don't understand, like this is not just like, it's a drag car and it only goes on the drag strip and like all it does is this. Like I drove this car for like 100,000 miles all over the country. Like I did the driving with it. So if I could combine like the whole history of the car into one thing, it would totally be drag week. And I would love to do that.
I mean, because that's really the ultimate test, right, for a street car. It's like, hey, I have a street car. Really? Do you have a street car? Is it able to drive 1,000 miles on the street between racetracks? I mean, I call it endurance drag racing, you know, because yeah, it's cool that you can make one pass at one track, but how about driving 250 miles to the next track the next day and then making another pass and so on and so forth. If you don't make a good pass, then you have to make another one, or you have to make another one, or until you have a good time, then you can move on to the next track. It is honestly the best drag racing competition, I feel like.
It also speaks true to like knowing your car, you know, because you only have I don't know the specs of the trailer, but you only have a little itty bitty baby trailer that you're allowed to bring. Something breaks, like what are you gonna do? Do you have all your tools with you? Do you actually know what you're gonna do? So I think that is like the coolest race like event, and I really want to do one.
Maybe this could be the first R35 GTR. I mean, I've seen Supra, right, from Real Street. I've seen some Honda Civics, I've seen some other imports, but I've never seen a GTR on that epic race.
Maybe we'll have to do that. I think that it would be great, and she would do great. I mean, we're just gonna have to find the time to do it. It's kind of in the middle of everything, but I would love to. That's like a dream to me.
Well, thank you so much for bringing this out. Hopefully we get to watch you race again very soon, and hopefully you'll bring slicks, and I don't even know what else. I mean, I'm guessing already, I honestly think it's the fastest vehicle that's ever been out here. So I couldn't imagine, I mean, it's just really cool to see the evolution. Yeah, I just can't wait to see it again. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. It's been an honor.
And also, thanks for kicking Travis's butt.
He's a good sport, you know. I had to give him a little crap, but he did awesome. I mean, he's really good at negotiating too. He knew exactly what I wasn't great at, and he was like, "Oh, give me the hit." And I was like, "Well, I can barely get out of the hole," like I thought. But you know, he's great. So thanks for inviting me out here. Thank you for the opportunity. You guys are awesome. I can't wait to come back and visit again soon.